Welcome to CannaGather. Didn't necessarily expect to be saying that ever again, but pleasantly surprised and excited and really appreciative of all of you for being here. So a round of applause for you guys. Thank you. Quick show of hands, who's first time at CannaGather? Cool, round of applause. Welcome to the first timers. And if you didn't raise your hand before, raise your hand now. Who's been here before? Cool, thank you all for coming back. Who was here last time? February 2020. Was anyone here February 2020?
I think I might have been, I don't remember.
It was at the new school. It's at the new school. Scotty was here, my godbrother was here. We got a couple, Alex, good job, Nirvine, Jared, #1 CannaGather, Dave, you got paid to be there, so I don't know if that counts. Thomas. Has anyone had like a good story from a past CannaGather experience? This is how you know it's not like I planted people. It's okay, hopefully, next month we'll be doing it again. Hopefully you guys have some good stories that come from this, people that you want to work with. People that you want to give money to, get money from, or otherwise collaborate with, or just be friends with. That's what this is all about. So hopefully next month that'll happen. Quick show of hands, who's an entrepreneur? Okay, that's a good amount. Any investors in the audience? Interesting time to be an investor in the cannabis industry. Couple, good for you. Good for you for both coming out and raising your hand. Round of applause. Truer words have never been spoken. Right on, Larry. As you can tell, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people that are looking to get into the game or maybe already in the game. Most of you actually already are and have been in the cannabis industry for quite some time. Quick disclaimer, this is not based on data. I made all of this up, but I'm pretty sure it's accurate. So the way that I see it is it's about 50% entrepreneurs, and based on the historical data from the hand raising, it's mostly been 50%. So maybe it's not entirely not based on data. Couple service providers, some investors, that number has definitely gone down to more like 2%. I think everything else is pretty close. I guess some more politics folks. Thanks, Chris, for bringing up that number. And Mary as well. But otherwise, it's mostly, this is the sort of mix of folks that come to CannaGather and part of the community. So this is sort of a fun part of the event. Turn to someone next to you. Ideally, you don't know them, although generally you sit next to people that you do know, but just turn to them, have maybe like a minute conversation, learn what they're up to, and see if there's a way that you guys can become friends or business partners or who knows, anything. But the last one that we did in New York was the future of social equity with Kareem Webb. Very exciting, interesting company, new type of model around enfranchising social equity applicants under the Brand Forth movement. And his dispensary is 64 and Hope out in LA. Prop 64 was the sort of provision that got cannabis legalized. And unfortunately, sort of a cautionary tale about social equity and even the sort of best in class folks like Kareem with support and ambition and great models, unfortunately weren't able to prevail as well as they'd hoped over the last 3 years in the California market. But if you're interested in learning more about that conversation, I think it was pretty amazing. Kareem is brilliant. So you can check out that and all past CannaGathers from New York on the CannaGather website. Quick shout out to a couple hosts, VIP folks. Jeffrey Hoffman, who I swore was over there. He went all the way here and all the way back there. He's walked more steps today than I have. Thank you, Jeffrey. Todd Hartman, where's Todd Hartman? Todd Hartman, thank you, sir. Suzanne Toulon, where's Suzanne? Suzanne, thank you very much. Round of applause for all of them. Thank you for your support. And I'll throw in an extra VIP. Jared's been to like 40, maybe 45 CannaGathers.
I'm always around. I'm always here.
Across New York and New Jersey. So thank you, Jared. I've literally run the numbers on this one, not the previous slide, but Jared has been to the most. Impressive numbers, so thank you. Quick shout out to the CannaGather team. This is definitely not something that I could pull off myself. In fact, I think many people would prefer if I weren't involved. But I want to give a shout out to everyone up here. Round of applause to everyone on the team. In particular, some of the people that didn't make the cut in terms of headshots. Abraham Bach and his father. They've been providing all of our catering since around 2018. So if you're interested in a both low cost but also high quality caterer, they've been knocking it out of the park for us for a long time. And then my high school soccer teammate who went to Tisch and got into film and now is a nurse, Dave. So thank you to everyone on the team. I want to give a major round of applause to all of them. And he didn't know this, but I'm going to put him on the spot. Anthony was sort of the major catalyst for this event because I basically was like, hey guys, kind of want to do something with CannaGather. Don't really want to do any of the work. And Anthony was like, I'll do it. And I was like, okay, cool. So Anthony is going to be helping lead the charge here in New York. Someone is laughing. Thank you. I have one person laughing at my jokes. Thank you. Two people. So Anthony is going to help lead the charge. I met him through CannaGather, I think, if not cannabis industry more broadly, around 2017, I want to say. Mostly made that up, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate. And so when I heard from him, you know, someone who has a pedigree, experience working in this space, lots of connections, and sort of the professionalism to make it happen, I was really excited. So Anthony, I'd love for you to introduce yourself for maybe a minute and chart out the future of CannaGather here in New York.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. My name is Anthony Caiazzo. I worked in the industry since 2016. Now I'm just investing, and I'm going to take the charge here in New York on the New York market for CannaGather. I would love everyone's help. We need to make this a big thing. We used to get about 250 people on average a month. Our last event in February 2019. 2020 was about 500 people, close to. So we'd like to grow it back to that. So yeah, anyone who wants to participate, help us out with the events. Sponsorships would be great. We'll get your name out there. We'll anybody who wants to get into the New York community, we'll help you out with that. So.
Cool. Thank you, Anthony. I would say the last event was in a 550 person auditorium, but I'd say we were probably around like 320. But as you can tell, we're not like sort of a quantitative heavy operation over here. So it was a lot of people. Let's see, what else we got going on? Hampton's Medi Spa. So I haven't seen Liz. Liz has been a sponsor of ours for quite some time. Massive network across the medical side, has thousands, if not crossed the 5-figure mark with regard to patient certifications in particular. So if you're looking to get your medical card or learn anything about the medical side, she's a great resource based out in the Hamptons and in Brooklyn, Coney Island, I believe, which I guess is Queens. Brooklyn? Yeah. No, I'm trying to think. Rockaway, that's what it was. It wasn't Coney Island. I'm going through the map in my head. I admittedly moved to Los Angeles, admittedly not that long ago, but still the map is a little fuzzy. But so she's in the Rockaways, which I believe is Queens. Coney Island, yes, Brooklyn. So if you're interested in anything on the medical side, if you're interested in patient certification, you know people who are looking for patient certification to get their medical cards, Liz Kramer Ernst, check out hamptonsmedispa.com.
Is that in Hampton Bays?
So she was in the Hamptons, then I think she was in the Rockaways, but I think she's actually moved to the Hamptons again, which might be why she's not here. So yes, Hamptons based, but she services the entire state. Good question. Wilson Elser, who's gonna come up from Wilson Elser? So Wilson Elser is actually the only sponsor from our last event in New York who's sponsoring this one. So let's give a big hand for Wilson Elser.
Hey, I'm Rich Boone. I'm a partner at Wilson Elser here in New York, in the city. We are the largest insurance defense firm in the country. We have a little over 1,000 lawyers nationwide. 400 of them are here in New York. New York is our home. And what we do in the cannabis space, we have had a cannabis industry practice for well over 10 years, maybe even a little longer than that. As you might imagine, it started out west. It has moved to New York. My partner, John Meir, runs it here in the city, and he has been involved in these events and these gatherings and with people here for many years before there really was a cannabis industry in New York. He represents all the major cannabis insurers, and what we do and what we can do for you is, obviously this is a burgeoning industry. It's one that's just getting started, but now that you're here, now that everyone's here, you're going to have trucks on the road. You're going to have employees. You're going to have premises where people could slip and fall. We do that kind of law. We are a defense firm. We don't sue people. We defend businesses. We defend people in those suits. And, sort of now that you're here, we're here to fill into that space. And so, if you need a lawyer for any of those needs, we are there for you. And we're obviously here for CannaGather. We love these events, and we're going to keep on coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rich. Neurovine. Alex, you want to come up?
I don't know if I can see more people over here or here, but does anyone want to see me more? Maybe if I stand right here in front of this pole, I think I could just stand right here, and I think that's optimal. Hi everyone, so I'm Alex. I'm the founder of Neurovine. We do automated nutrient delivery systems for indoor cannabis farms. So a lot of the way we think about a farm is kind of like a factory. So you have inputs, which are like energy, water, nutrients, maybe seeds, and then the output is obviously the cannabis plant. And so your goal of operating this factory is to try to get the best quality, most output you can get every year with the least amount of inputs. And so that's how we can help. We do automation, so we can automate the nutrient processes that are needed, and we can actually do a lot more than that. But we're also able to do things a lot lower cost than what you would actually expect in our industry. And actually the most important thing is that we're very future driven. So like an investment in our technology is not only investment in your farm today, but also into the future as things get more advanced. And so just a little bit of background, I've been coming to CannaGather since 6 years ago, since we were starting the company, which we were developing in the city. And it's been a great opportunity for someone like me. I'm an engineer, I'm not from the industry, but it was really great to connect with people in the industry so that we could make the things that they actually wanted. So I really want to thank Josh. It's a big part of my journey for putting this together and keeping it alive. And so if anyone wants to talk to me, if you have a farm or you're like farm adjacent, definitely come chat with me and see if I might be able to help you out. So thanks so much, everyone. Hope to meet you soon.
Yeah, I was going to give some of the background, but I guess he beat me to it. I feel like first conversation was around like a grow computer, and then they were students, and now they're building best-in-class hardware and software. So it's been pretty cool to see that transformation. A couple more sponsors. Etain. Etain, you probably know the name. There's actually a dispensary pretty close to here on 59th Street, I believe. So if you're looking for products, check out Etain. Definitely been the most supportive of the ROs, the registered organizations. The most supportive of CannaGather out of all of the registered organizations. So thank you, Etain, both for their support and also for coming and being part of the CannaGather community. And then Splash. So all of our events, as you probably know, run on Splash. It works. I like it. I recommend it. We still use it many years later. So the next event is going to be May 11th. Cos Marte. You may have heard of him from Con Body. Anyone? Yes, sounds like it. It's a lot of very fit people in the audience. Cos is a legendary figure in the New York City world, and he built a great business, transforming his life. I want to save his whole story, which is so incredible, as you all know. So I'll let him say it himself next month. He recently won one of the CAURD licenses, so that's pretty exciting. He can share that experience. So going from someone who was previously incarcerated for nonviolent cannabis offenses to now being a retail dispensary owner. Should be pretty exciting. That's May 11th. You can get early bird tickets now at CannaGather.com/May/2023. I think it's hard to follow in Chris's footsteps, but I think costs might come close. Quick reminder, you go to a lot of events, they say put your phone on silent, put your phone away. We're sort of the opposite. Take your phone out, take a picture, write a post, share it with friends. This actually used to say share it with Governor Cuomo, but no comment. And once again, buy your tickets to next month. So without further ado, CannaGather 3.0, the legal era with the one and only Executive Director of the New York State's Office of Cannabis Management, Christopher Alexander. So last time you were on stage at CannaGather, it was fall of 2017, I believe. And now we're older. Now we're older. And a lot has been going on in cannabis. So catch us up. Tell me who are you? What do you do? How did you get into that role?
My name is Chris Alexander, as the screen says. I'm the Executive Director of the New York State Office of Cannabis Management. I was appointed to this role by Governor Hochul. It was one of the first things that she did when she became governor in September of 2021. So in that role, I'm running it all, the medical program, the CBD program, as well as our adult use program that we're bringing to life right now. So it's been an exciting almost 2 years, it feels like. It really feels like more than that. But, really just a great opportunity to shape this market. And, I've been to many a CannaGather to support Josh. And I'm just happy to be here to share with y'all again.
Cool. So I think let's go back to 2018, 2019. You're working in the Senate, advocating for legalization. By a bit of a miracle, the governor is no longer the governor, and now we're able to get MRTA. What are your thoughts about, all the work that you were putting in, both in 2018, 2019 in the Senate, and then also before with DPA, and your whole experience going into the MRTA?
Well, how I'd frame it is, first I want to tell a story about one of the days after the close of a legislative session, and me and Josh got together and we're just venting about the frustrations of the political process. But no, it's been a long journey, you start focusing on an issue that impacts you at home, in your community, et cetera, that takes you into strange places, into, strange communities. When I started working at DPA, I never thought, even though, I was brought in to lead this campaign, but I never thought that I'd ever sit in the seat as a commissioner, bringing the vision that was the MRTA to life. There's a lot of people who worked on that bill. I kind of always held the pen, is what we would say, so it was an honor to sit there, but also leading the campaign effort while at DPA was also something that was incredibly important to me. What was most important is kind of, what happens in this room, that you bring people together from different walks of life with kind of different positions in this thing, but you form kind of a big tent. And you're going through this journey of learning about the plant, about the industry, about this opportunity together. So starting from advocacy, going into the legislature, negotiating this bill, continuing to draft and fine tune this bill was a journey of its own. But then now in this new role, it's been incredibly challenging, but also very, very rewarding to meet mentees. And to meet licensees and applicants and folks who are looking for an opportunity. It's been really cool.
Cool. Welcome. Yeah, that deserves a round of applause. So everything goes down in Albany, crazy mess, and I think I was less surprised than you that you got into the seat that you were in, and I think that we should all be very grateful that Chris is the one in the seat, because as I told him a couple years ago, it's not really an enviable position. And it's a very hard, thankless role. And I know you guys don't know Chris as well as I do, but Chris is incredibly, incredibly deeply knowledgeable about the plant, about the policy, about the implications on the community. And as I have told you before, there's no one better, like, in the city, in the state, and as a result in the country and in the world to, like, do the job. So whether, you know, works out as well as you hoped or it works out as well as everyone else hoped, there's no one who should be in that seat holding whatever pen you're holding now. I hope it's a keyboard. There's no one better than Chris. So I just want to give Chris a round of applause for even just doing the job that he does. So you become the appointee, you have all this power. You know what happens.
Power and no pens or paper or people, right? You know, you got to remember what was unique about what we did here is that, you know, more than just legalizing and say, okay, here, SLA, here, you know, whatever regulatory body in whatever alternative state, we decided to create a new agency from the bottom, like not a division within a bureau, within something. We are an entirely new agency. And so the first thing that I got to work on was building what I think is one of the best teams in the regulatory space in the country. People who are brilliant and committed, who work hard, who don't, you know, care the late nights because they care about the impact of the work that they're doing. So the first thing was building a team, doing org charts, designing the budget. I do all of that stuff in addition to kind of, you know, deciding, you know, our policy approaches to whatever regulatory issue there may be. So we started with that. We did a lot of kind of meet and greets, both with industry operators, but also with our, you know, partners in government, state level, local levels, just making sure everybody knew that we were here and we were going to be, you know, going through this process of development and transformation, but that we do want to develop those relationships and those partnerships, particularly with folks in the industry. And then we got to work. We found office space and we got some more people in the room, and the whole thing started with expanding the medical program. You know, making good on, you know, I remember coming to CannaGather events and folks, you know, just wondering, when are we going to open up conditions? When are we going to make this easier for patients to get their medicine? And so that was the first thing that we prioritized when I took the seat, is making good on the promises of a more accessible medical program. And that was what we spent that first early months working on.
So I'm a little disappointed that John Kagia and his accent isn't here, but I'll let that slide for a moment. For context, for my context, for everyone else's context, like, how big is your agency? Like, tell us about it. Like, what do you guys do?
Yeah, I mean, we're broken up into, I mean, I've designed the agency in a way that's broken up into different functions. All in all, we have 3 offices, Buffalo, Albany, New York City. We currently have a staff of just around 150 that I run, and we're going to continue to grow. I think we've got some ways to go, maybe another 50% before we get to full capacity of making sure everybody's kind of handling an appropriate amount of work, because right now I got people wearing 7 hats. In terms of,
Are the taxpayers pay for the hats?
yes. So, but in terms of the design of the, nobody else got it. Nobody else got it. In terms of the design of the company, I mean, you all are interacting. We have an external team that kind of does the outward-facing stuff. We've got a policy shop that comes up with concepts and works through the regulations, a legal team, compliance, licensing, enforcement, you know, communications. So we have it's a full agency. It's a lot of work.
Cool. Does anyone have any quick questions about that? About, like, the agency, what it is? Christian?
First of all, thanks so much just for what you're doing. In terms of what other states have done, their rollouts, what are we learning here not to do?
What are we learning here not to do from other states?
Well, if you're trying to truly create a space where entrepreneurs are going to be able to thrive, you can't give away the entire market before you create that opportunity, right? And so what you see in other states, whether it was just doing a straight grandfathering for their existing medical program or creating some type of limited access where the medical program gets prioritized and everybody else is on the back burner. As much as we love our medical partners, our operators, I do think of them as partners in this. That wouldn't work here. There's too many of y'all where we've got folks who are coming with the right entrepreneurial spirit, who have ideas, who have concepts, who are trying to take this industry to the next level. If we gave it away, we wouldn't be able to carve out the necessary piece for those operators and for these small businesses. So that's one of the first things that we learned. As you know, there's definitely contention around that decision, but it's something that's going to be better for the market in the long run, to give brands, small businesses a chance to develop. I'm not keeping big business out. I'm making them compete. You understand? And so that's what I think is one of the biggest lessons learned in this early time from other states.
So before,
Thank you.
couple snaps. Sort of along the lines of Christian's point is, what? It's Christian. Sorry. No, I wasn't calling you Christian. That's Christian. That's Christian Kim. Along the lines of Christian's point, you studied all of the different markets, all of the different regulations, all of the legislation across the country in sort of working with, the team that developed the MRTA, Brad Usher, shout out, retired, but with us in spirit, or somewhere in Queens. But what were the big surprises? As you said, you looked at, per Christian's point, you looked at what was working, what wasn't working in California, particularly like Los Angeles, what wasn't working in Oakland, what wasn't working, in these other states, applied that, synthesized that into New York's regs. What do you think the big surprises were when you post being appointed to now? What do you think the big surprises were?
Like market-wise? Or just
Market-wise. Or
like
I was
approach-wise?
I was thinking market-wise, but yeah.
Well, there's a ton of surprises. First, there's a personal surprise of the work involved in this thing, not just from the agency-wide perspective, but designing a new market, a new industry from scratch, while an existing, thriving legacy market still exists, while there's opportunists jumping at the design you're trying to implement. It's just generally been a lot. That wasn't a surprise per se, but I was thinking it's the biggest reality moment that there's been. But the one thing I did want to just come back to about like designing the market in this way, the biggest surprise to start was like I didn't think I'd be the one to have to build this. Keep in mind the MRTA is it's a forward-thinking document. It's creating an environment like where true competition and prioritization of those who not normally included. Those are lofty goals in many spaces. But what we have been able to do is pull strategies from New York State itself, strategies that they've put forward for other types of industries and other types of programs, implement those, look at other states, look at what's working, what's not, implement that. And it's also been so much not a single thing. You know what I mean? Like normally you've heard states roll out an equity plan, we say plan, we have a plan, but like a program. It's like a single program. And the biggest recognition is not a program. It's everything. It's architecture, it's timing, it's resources, it's investment, technical assistance, all of these things that I think make the job or the goal there a little bit more complicated.
That makes sense. And then I guess on a forward-looking basis, like what do you see as the biggest challenges and the biggest opportunities like going forward?
Well, the team reminds me all the time, like we've now that we've opened retail stores, and a few, but there's more coming. Now that we've opened those stores, that we now have a full supply chain and we have to protect it, right? Which means, working, you can clap. But it means keeping, the appropriate dials on the entirety of that market, making sure things are flowing in the way they need to flow, et cetera. So that's the biggest thing I think looking forward.
And was there anything else you wanted to add before we jump to questions? I feel like people are very eager to ask questions. Okay, there's a question right there.
Well, actually, sorry, I do want to say
Yeah, one more.
one more thing. We started with medical. The work that we did, and as soon as we brought the office to life, we started expanding the medical program. We then tried to formalize and did formalize our cannabinoid hemp program. And now we're deep into the adult use first steps, right? I want to say this before to frame your questions, but also just to make sure y'all understand where we are right now in this nascent market. There's so much more work to do. Like I'm here with you now, not on a day off that I had when everybody's kind of in steady state. Like we understand that we're building something. We understand that there's a lot more stores to open. There's a lot more weed to grow. But I need y'all to understand that, this market is designed to create y'all or to give you all space to participate. That's what this market is designed for. You all have to be doing that work with us as we're going through the regulatory process, as we're having these early, Cannabis Control Board meetings, as we're launching mentorship programs and all these things. Like, it's early, you know what I mean? But we're working. We need y'all to be working too. And that's the only way that this thing is going to work.
Do you have any advice for those entrepreneurs? Like, what should they be doing? How can they be interfacing with you?
Well, one, of course, attending the Cannabis Control Board meetings is incredibly important. Everything important that we do happens at those board meetings. But two, you gotta, this is still New York, right? Like this is still gonna be incredibly difficult. But if you are reading and tuned in with our office and signed up for all the updates and come out when we ask you to come for an educational event, you'll be ahead of so many others who decided to ignore that call to action. So I think reading, staying tuned in, signed up for updates to our office, I think are all incredibly important.
There's a question right there, Larry.
Fred Newton, I had the pleasure of talking to you on the phone once when you were with EPA.
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
like to ask the Office of Cannabis Management to look into and research Hound Labs, hound like hound dogs. It is a company in California that developed a urine test that will only show positive for as long as you're high. Once the high wears off, once you're no longer buzzed, you're tested, it's negative. That could seriously hamper the urine testing industry. And I say this because the Giulianis of the world, the Harry Anslingers of the world, Fred Evans of the world, Patrick Kennedy's of the world, as more and more states legalize, they're gonna look at drug testing choose drug testing to be the last hill to fight and die on.
Yes, that drug testing was definitely a big part of my conversations with law enforcement in 2018, 2019, particularly on Long Island. So I guess you have a recommendation there, but I think it was Larry, you had a question?
Yep, thank you. Yes, I'm Larry Bach, I'm the founder of the Traceability Company. First, I want to say thank you. I signed up for NORML in 1979 because my brother told me to sign the petition even though I was too young to vote. And my family always believed that marijuana laws were not only repressive, but that society benefits from marijuana in the way that J. Edgar Hoover didn't understand. So thank you. I can't believe you're a state official that is helping us grow marijuana. And Alexander Hamilton would be proud of you. My question to you is, other than making sure that all the state laws against business fraud are enforced the way Alvin Bragg now enforces it, is there a policy that the state has promulgated on the advertisement of marijuana in New York State?
Absolutely. We have regulations related to marketing and advertising, both facing, these are business-facing regulations, so licensees are held accountable to those. And obviously we have, what was that? They're all on our website, yeah. Yep, the packaging, labeling, marketing, advertising regulations, they're in effect. And so they govern how all the legal product looks, how those stores look, how those folks do, any type of digital or direct advertising as well.
Other questions?
My question and frustration has been, I pay attention to how the plan is being broken down from we started with CBD, then everybody's coming out with all these different strains, right? And then when you look, you see where this is illegal, that's illegal, this is illegal, that's illegal. You can only sell this or that. So my thing is, okay, so we're up to the point where it's supposed to be legal. There is the hemp cannabinoid license, right? And when was it, 2020, 2021, it became legal. And retailers were still sitting, waiting. And to me, it's like time, it's very precious because I'm looking at my lease, with my business. And I'm saying to myself, when is this true license gonna come out where I can figure out what I'm gonna do and where is this plant gonna go with the industry and people actually rolling out to do it retail?
But the point, I think the main question is around rollout of the retail license. It sounds like, and we did make the CBD retail license available last year or 2020, but right now we are in the regulatory process. We've issued regulations. We launched a campaign to get feedback from the public, received that comment, and are getting ready to put those regulations back out with those updated changes. We have to conclude the regulatory process before we issue additional licenses. So that may be, the next several months. We may have to, we may put that document back out, and then the public tell us that we didn't get it right, and then we had to, work it again. And so, essentially, the end of the regulatory process when we're gonna, when we're able to start issuing applications for additional licenses, that is going to take the next few months. So, hopeful is by the fall, but again, it depends on what feedback we get from the public on the rules.
That's what the office said last year. It should roll out by the end of last year. Yeah.
They were wrong. Now it should be this fall.
Oh, the adult use regulations. Yeah, the adult use regulations, they did go out in November, but they need to become final. So they're going through a process. Yeah.
I was just kidding.
Is there going to be a rollout going forward of an educational campaign, whether it be with DOE or in the schools? Because we know that, it's a voting year. Parents are concerned and legislators are now pushing out legislation to make sure that those concerns are addressed, but not really going to benefit the cannabis industry.
The question was, what type of educational campaigns are coming out to educate the public about cannabis?
Well, yeah, I think, on the youth-focused ones, we had some general messaging around our Cannabis Conversations campaign, which was, media, print media, as well as
Subway ads.
Subway ads, yeah, we wrapped a train. In terms of the direct to young people education campaigns in particular, we have a mandate in our law to develop such campaigns. We've now started to touch on that mandate through broader campaigns. We haven't drilled down to the young people specific just yet, but that's something that'll happen in this year. We're starting this year with our new campaign focused on transitioning folks into the regulated market called Why Buy Legal. And you'll start seeing advertisements related to that campaign on social media, today, actually. We have an official launch press conference on Tuesday, but you'll start seeing, basically a call to transition from untested, unregulated products to tested, regulated products. That'll be the next step.
Why would you buy tested and regulated products? Untested. Steve.
I'm curious about this Niagara Gazette story. Seneca Nation-owned marijuana facility draws crowd in Niagara Falls. The Seneca Nation of Indians has officially added a new line of business, the cannabis selling business, and they're talking about a store called Nativa Cannabis. Is that part of the card rollout, or is that separately done because it's tribal? And
yeah, it's separate. It's tribal land. Yeah. So it's completely separate from the rollout that we've done. Well, I think there are most of the work on that front happens at the governor's office in terms of communicating with the tribes and working out compacts, et cetera. From our perspective, we've rolled out regulations that we believe are the best for the people here. And so I think, one thing that we would hope to see is, them, coming into line with that. But that's a kind of a separate issue that the governor's office handles.
I think we have time for one more question.
We're wondering if you have any sort of advice for someone like us who could get a foot into the industry over these big companies, in an industry that's known for being sort of a steep price to get your foot in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, one, being here, learning from other entrepreneurs in the cannabis space who are also kind of going through that journey, but maybe a little bit ahead of you is also great. There's a lot of folks who are trying to cut their teeth in this space and learning as they go. And I think that's great that you're here doing that now. The one thing I would just echo again is to stay tuned in with our office. We will also have training programs that we're creating right now, just because of the work that we've had to do in terms of growing the program. We have a separate mandate to create resources for training development, for entry into the marketplace, for just folks who are interested, the general public. And so we've now developed the necessary supports for our licensees. And next is going to be for the general public, those general resources that folks can tap into when they want to learn the A to Z's of starting a cannabis business. And so that work is being done right now. And right now we're getting that training fine-tuned with our existing licensees.
Anything else you want to share?
You want to do?
I mean, a little over time, but we could do one more if you want. Jeff. Okay. Never mind. Oh my God. Pandora's question.
We can stack them.
Are we going to get in trouble? It's 9:09. No, we haven't. Okay, we'll keep going. You want to keep going? 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes.
Okay, we'll start with them and then we'll go over there.
Really the biggest issue that we have in the market right now is putting out products that are competitive with the incredibly pervasive illicit market. A huge part of that is currently the potency tax, which I know has been in the news a lot. I'm just wondering, how likely is it that the excise potency tax will go away in favor of just a higher at the register sales tax, and when do you think that would occur?
So the question was, and I'm surprised it took this long, how do folks in the regulated market compete with the unlicensed market, particularly cultivators around the potency tax?
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk to the potency tax first. I know it's obviously a unique thing here. I do know that there's a lot of support to take a different approach. What I'd say is, like, for right now, as we roll this thing out, there's going to continue to be tweaks and changes along the process, taxes, et cetera. We'll adjust the structure. But what's going to be most effective on the enforcement side is just doing more, right? It's doing more, because folks are going to choose, and we've seen the numbers from the performance of these initial stores. Folks are choosing the higher priced product. Those dispensaries are doing well. And, as for this early part of the market, there's obviously much more to go, but they are doing well. And so we've got to roll out more dispensaries. We need additional resources and people power to close the doors on these shops. I've been playing whack-a-mole with them for the last 6 months, seizing product and then getting them open again. We're getting more resources, thankfully. But we got to open more stores, close more dispensaries. And then, the last thing is a lot more people education. People are walking past these shops thinking that they're legal shops. And so we're taking it on ourselves to do some of the education, but you also need to talk to your people, talk to your friends, talk to your family, make sure they know that in those shops you're not buying, the safer products that you and your team are developing, So I think we've got to do a lot more of that people-to-people education as well.
Well, you heard it here. Chris Alexander told me to open up shops. Just kidding. Real estate competition, and then also trying to make jokes. I forgot the second one. Real estate competition, and the second one was the rollout of the future CAURD license.
Yeah, so as I said to the previous question, the timing of the additional licenses really depends on the closing of the regulation making window, because the application language, the things we can consider are all in the regs, as well as the operational requirements for those licensees is all in the regs. So reg process closes, we'll start announcing kind of how we'll roll out and open licenses. My hope is that we're able to close the reg process at the close of the summer, early fall, and so that we can spend the fall rolling out the licenses in an appropriate way. That's my hope, but it depends on this process of feedback and engagement. And one thing that I didn't talk about enough is just, like, from my team and the work that they're doing externally, in the community, educating folks. We had so many comments on those regs, just, industry, but also, community folks who say, hey, I want to more flexibility in, how we designate community spaces where cannabis can't be used, or, I want to talk more about, the type of security at dispensaries, whatever. So I was just really pleased with the team's work and getting feedback, quality feedback from the state, and so that process has to close. So, locations. We endeavored on doing something that has not yet been done or tried to be done, which is meeting people where they're at and dealing with the two biggest barriers to their success in the cannabis industry, and that's access to capital and access to retail, to real estate. It's hard. It's been very hard to find these locations. Not only are we having separate standards and requirements because we are the state going about this, and so there's certain, normal provisions and leases that we can't accept, right? That the fund can't accept. And so, it's been a process. But I think the thing to remind folks of is that right now, the state of New York is investing $200 million in getting people what they need to have a startup opportunity. And that's incredible. And, the frustrations that come with it, I think, are significant. But knowing that that's the endeavor happening in the background, I think should also just really frame and orient folks as we talk about this. Right now, the state's going about looking for locations. We also have card licensees who aren't required to take the state location, so they're going about doing that on themselves. We created that option for flexibility. Also, just understanding that some folks had more resources and could do that. So we're trying to right now just coordinate those two processes happening at the same time, while also competing with the illicit market and the fact that we've got a lot of landlords being complicit in that. So coordination, state, it's hard. We're working. We're trying to do shit in a different way.
Chris Alexander, Executive Director,
Thank you.
New York State Office of Cannabis Management.